Hey there, this is Wayne Barnes with Kaplan Bar View. I'm here with another of our bar exam videos for you in the area of contracts, which is what I teach. What we want to do with this video is look at a typical 30-minute bar exam essay question and just kind of look at a typical question, see how we want to attack it, go through it. What you want to do is you want to start reading the question and you want to be highlighting and noting what you think might be significant issues, separating that from the irrelevant stuff, and then you're going to want to make a mental outline, really not a mental outline, you're going to write out what you think is the outline of the issues as you spot them as you read through it. And we're going to do that as we go, read through this essay, mark some things, notice important facts, construct our issue of important legal rules, and then we're going to put it all together and see what's going on here. So let's take a look at the question. It looks like we got someone, Smith Tire Company is located in West Bloomfield, Michigan. And it says the company manufactures tires for motorized vehicles, and Jane Smith is the namesake president of the Smith Tire Company. Next up, and it says on March 1st, 2012, Ms. Smith received a letter from Superbikes, which was in need of purchasing tires. Superbikes is a well-known manufacturer of motorcycles located in St. Joseph, Michigan, and Larry Jones is the president. Now here's what the letter said. So we got this letter. What did it say? The letter, which was, notice this. It's a letter, number one, so we got a writing. Brain says some rules and contracts require writings. Well, here we have something. We killed a tree, we put something on paper, and we have a letter. Notice that it's printed on company's letterhead. So query, does that mean it's signed? Sometimes we need a signed writing. Is a letterhead enough? Well, spoiler alert, yes, but let's read further. The letter was printed on the company's letterhead, and it said, Superbikes does what? Offers to purchase 1,000 such model tires for $300 per tire. Total contract price $300,000. This offer is firm and will not expire until May 30th. Oh, we gave a specific amount of time. That's interesting. And they even tell how to accept. They say, please ship on May 30th using Allied Freight Company, and there's this mysterious term, FOB West Bloomfield. And notice that the letter was initialed. Not sure why he didn't sign it, but he initialed it. Larry Jones initialed it. Well, obviously this is an offer. I mean, I hate to spoil that, but I think you're all on the same page with me. So we have this offer that's made, and we keep reading, and it says, because this was such a large order, Ms. Smith immediately gave the letter to her production manager in order to begin the manufacturing process. Now, on the evening of May 29th, and remember they had till May 30th, right? But on the day before, the evening of May 29th, it says Mr. Jones suddenly gets cold feet, leaves a voicemail message for Ms. Smith, and purports at least to cancel the order. But Ms. Smith didn't receive that message. Wonder what's going on there. So he left this message saying he wants to cancel it. She doesn't get it. Well, what are we gonna do with that? We'll talk about that in a minute. Finally, meanwhile, unbeknownst or oblivious to the phone call, it says that Smith Tire completed the production and in fact shipped the tires, which remember that was the way that was invited to accept in the first place. And it's on May 30th, it's timely. After Allied Freight picked up the tires, it says Ms. Smith faxed Superbikes to notice the shipment along with all the documents necessary to enable it to obtain possession of tires. And that afternoon, Ms. Smith, for the first time, heard that voicemail message from the night before purporting to cancel. And looky here, one last little fact to throw into the mix. While in transit, what happened? The truck carrying the tires, of course, was involved in an accident. All of the contents of the truck were destroyed. Oh, the humanity, right? So bad things happen even on contracts, bar exams, in fact, quite often on contracts, bar exam questions. And so now you get to the call of the question. They ask you two basic things. Notice that they ask first, is there a contract between Smith Tire Company and Superbikes for the 1,000 tires? And then secondly, they ask, who has the risk of loss, again, for that destruction? In other words, does Superbikes have to pay regardless, or does Smith Tire Company have to supply new tires? Well, that's going to be an interesting question. Okay, well, we've looked at all these facts. What would you want to do next? You'd want to kind of synthesize these facts, and in those few moments before you write your answer, you're going to want to kind of create your list of issues. So here's what I've kind of come up with. They ask two basic questions, and of course the first big question is there a contract between the parties? Basic formation question. Here's how I break that up. Number one, does Article 2 of the UCC apply? Secondly, did Superbikes make an offer? Thirdly, did Superbikes make a firm offer? And so there's subparts there. Is he a merchant? Is it a signed writing? Did he agree to hold it open? What about the 3-month rule? We'll talk about that in a moment. The next thing I have down is, could Superbox even revoke the offer? He left that voicemail on the 29th purporting to cancel it. Is he allowed to do that? And then finally, did Smith Tires accept the offer? That's kind of the last piece of the puzzle of this first big question, is there a contract? Now, to just lay our outline out, the second major question asked by the call of the question is, who has the risk of loss and why? And that's gonna require us to look at our basic UCC FOB risk of loss terms. What is the FOB risk of loss term and how does it apply? Okay, so now you see we've got our outline. What are you gonna do? You're gonna put this all together, you're gonna create your essay response. So we're gonna take this one at a time. So our first sub-issue of, is there a contract, was, does Article 2 apply? Well, you remember, Article 2 applies to contracts for the sale of goods. Tires are goods. Check. They're physical, they're movable. Article 2 applies. Second sub-issue, offer. Was an offer made? Well, you recall, offers are objective manifestations by the offeror of a willingness to enter into a bargain that creates power of acceptance. Well, it's pretty clearly an offer, as we saw that Superbox clearly just stated they offered to purchase, so clearly they're willing to do this deal for the 1,000 tires. Next sub-issue, what about the firmness of the offer? In other words, if you recall in the facts, Superbox gave until May 30th. You can have till May 30th to think about this. Well, take a look at our firm offer rule. UCC 2205, which applies because we have the contract for the sale of goods anyway. Well, a signed writing by a merchant, well, let's stop there. Was this writing signed? Well, Larry Jones didn't write out his full John Hancock signature, but he did initial it, and notice it was also on letterhead. The courts say that some kind of indication to authenticate who it's from, whether it's initials or letterhead, that can operate in lieu of a full written signature. We got a signed writing. Is he a merchant? Yeah, he's in the business of making motorcycles, so he's a merchant. Did he give assurances the offer would be held open? Yeah, he said you can have till May 30th. He absolutely gave assurances it could be held open. If that's all true, the offer is not revocable. He can't revoke, he can't cancel, he can't withdraw for lack of consideration for the stated period of time, as long as it doesn't exceed 3 months. Here it was exactly 3. The offer was made on March 1. The time, the firm offer assurance was till May 30th. March, April, May. 3 months, so we're all good there. This was a firm offer. What's our next sub question? Well, therefore, since we have a firm offer, could Superbikes revoke the offer? Well, you know, you'd want an A+ answer would define revocation. Offer can be revoked. Direct revocation occurs when the offeror directly communicates an intent to withdraw. But you know what? You don't have the power to revoke if there's an option contract or here a firm offer. The whole firmness of the offer is that it's firm, it's irrevocable. It's irrevocable, not revocable. So he didn't have the power to revoke. So that phone call on May 29th, no effect whatsoever, right? Because he made a firm offer and he took that power away from himself when he gave the firm offer. So that phone call, no force in effect. Now all we need to know is there is an acceptance, and of course our rule for acceptance is it's simply an objective manifestation by the offer to be bound by the terms of the offer. Well, here clearly it looks like Smith Tire wants to accept. They do what was asked. The offer said, if you accept, ship the tires May 30th. They ship the tires May 30th. And look at our sub point on acceptance. Under the UCC specifically 2206, the seller can accept a buyer's offer to buy goods either by promising or just simply promptly shipping the goods that have been ordered. And that's what Smith Tire did here. They shipped the tires and that was an acceptance. We have a contract, okay? So we've answered the first question. Now the second major question was, who has the risk of loss and why? Now that requires us to look at one more rule, our UCC risk of loss rules. And notice between merchants and carrier contracts, carrier just means we used a shipping company. Here it was Allied Freight Company. In a carrier contract that's a so-called shipment contract, and that's sometimes referred to as FOB seller, the risk of loss passes to the buyer once the goods are delivered to the carrier. And notice that the default rule is that it's a shipment contract if there's no express FOB term. Well, if you look back in the third paragraph of the essay at the very end, it says, please ship using Allied Freight Company, FOB West Bloomfield. Now, Bloomfield, as it turns out, was the place of seller's business. Okay, so this is FOB seller. So what does it mean risk of loss passes to the buyer once the goods are delivered to the carrier? So the FOB risk of loss rules work like this. In a long distance contract from one city to another, the goods are going to be loaded on a truck and they're going to go from point A, the seller, to point B, the buyer. And what happens if the goods, as they were here, are destroyed or stolen or something happens to them between point A and point B? Well, our FOB risk of loss rules state what happens. So the default rule is FOB seller. That means the risk of loss passes at seller's place of business as soon as the goods are loaded on the truck. That's what happened here. The goods were loaded on the truck at seller's place of business, West Bloomfield. At that point, the risk of loss passed. That means from between point A and B, sorry buyer, if something happens between here and there, the risk is on you. Hope you had insurance because you're not getting any more goods from me. The risk of loss passed. Now, if a buyer is smart, what they do is pay a little more and get an FOB buyer contract. Then the risk does not pass to them until they actually arrive at the destination. But that's not what happened here under our rule that is stated. We have an FOB seller contract. It's actually expressly so. So unfortunately, Superbikes is 2 times a loser here. Number 1, they couldn't revoke. There was a contract. Their offer was accepted. And number 2, not only that, but they bore the risk of loss because it was an FOB seller provision. The risk passed once the goods were delivered to the carrier and loaded on the truck. Sorry, Superbikes is going to have to pay the money anyway. Okay, so there's a lot there, but that is a typical essay question, and you have 30 minutes to work on this, so I've done this in a short amount of time, but you'll have time to read it, look through the facts, make your outline, analyze it according to the rules that you've learned and studied and understand, and that is how to approach an essay question on the bar exam. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, let us know in the comments section below. Otherwise, stay tuned to our Kaplan Bar Review video channel for future bar exam videos.